morning, students. I am here again with the poem Keeping Quiet. Keeping Quiet. The poem of class 12 CBSE board, and the poem has been composed by Pablo Neruda. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda, and Pablo Neruda is his pen name. His original name is Ricardo Elcier Neftali Reyes Basalto. It's a big name, so better known he was, and he changed and known by his pen name and later legal name Pablo Neruda. He was a Nobel Prize winner, winning Chilean poet, diplomat and politician. His life period was 1904 to 1973, and he was perhaps the most important Latin American poet of the 20th century. The most important Latin American poet of 20th century. In the poem here, in Keeping Quiet, the poet talks about the necessity of quiet introspection, as it can develop a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. By quiet introspection, the poet doesn't mean total inactivity. Quiet introspection doesn't mean total inactivity. Instead, he wants full involvement with life. It will establish a spiritual and physical union that is most desirable for the survival of the earth and also of the human beings. Actually, the poem is an anti-war poem. It's an anti-war poem. The poem is symbolic of stopping all activities, understanding the purpose of the world, The poet wants the readers to take time out of their busy lives for retrospection and introspection. Now, start with the poem. With the first stanza, there are 6 stanzas. So, with the very first stanzas, now we will count to 12. The poem starts from the line, now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. The poem is a blank verse, free verse. There is no rhyme scheme in the given poem. The poet suggests us to count to 12 and be quiet and motionless during it. For the future of the earth, for the future of the universe, for the future of human beings. He used a phrase, count to 12. The phrase count to 12 is used here as there are 12 hours represented on a clock. 12 parts represented on a clock. It's a very important short question. Are 12 months in a year? So he used the word 12 to count. In this moment of silence and tranquility, the poet wants us to remain motionless and urges us not to speak in any language, neither in gesture, nor in written manner, nor in oral. He urges us not to speak a single word from our mouth, utter a single word from our mouth. Be quiet for a second. He uses here a second. A second means a moment, because every second has its importance. Its importance. You can't say 59 seconds a minute. It means a second has its own importance. Here, the poet has used pun in the word arms. Pun figure of speech in the word arms. And he requests us to be quiet for the future of earth, for the future of human beings, for the future of universe. Not speak in any language. Second stanza. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. In a sudden strangeness. Alteration here. In a sudden strangeness. Assonance also he has used in the first stanza. And in the second stanza, sudden strangeness. Here he has used alteration. Right? And if you notice the second line of the second stanza, without rush, without engines, here he has used repetition, figure of speech repetition. The explanation of the stanza. According to the poet, such moment would be very unusual, because no one will be in a hurry. Everyone has seemed equal. There would be no sound of machines polluting the earth. No sound of machines which pollute the earth. It will be a strange moment with stillness, quietness, peaceful serenity with which we are not familiar. It will be a strange moment with stillness. Which type of stillness? With which we are not familiar. We are unfamiliar. We never feel such type of stillness. In this it's a miraculous moment, the bonds of humanity will get stronger. We would all be together. Uniformity here. We can feel uniformity. Everyone be quiet in sudden strangeness. And because of that, a very unusual moment will be risen here. Will be created here. Which is unfamiliar, unusual for us. But it be beneficial for us and for the earth. Why? Because in this moment, in stillness, we will get the time to think about the purpose of our life. What's the purpose of our life? It's a sudden and a very strange and exotic moment. With the third stanza, let's start with the third stanza. Fishermen, it's a suggestion. Fishermen in the cold sea, without not harm whales. Whales, a name of a fish, the biggest animal of our planet, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. The man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. The poet urges us again and suggests us. It's a suggestion from the poet The fishermen that they would not be catching fish. Catching fish. Be quiet also. They don't do any work. They don't want to go to the sea for catching the fish. Catching fish. Hence the aquatic animals. Aquatic means sea and oceans animals. Aquatic animals will be safe for a brief moment. It be for a brief moment. But for a brief moment, the destruction of nature will also stop. Also stop. By doing such thing, they try to maintain the ecology of earth. Ecology system of earth. The men who gathers salt will have time to tend their wounded hands. Have time to tend their wounded hands for their livelihood. They wounded their own hands and physique, which was blessed by God to them. Thus nature and humans both will get time to recover from the wounds. Nature will get time to recover their ecology system, and humans will get to look towards their wounds, and they will have time to recover it, to cure their wounds. Next, fourth stanza, the explanation of the stanza. Serenity, the poet also advises them who fight war for different purposes, to get wealth, to get property, for different purposes with gases. Fight war with gases, firearms, biological and germ weapons. Nowadays, we are facing corona, a virus weapon. It's a new war. New war. There are so many countries who prefer and use the seed of weeds to throw them, to transfer them, to plant them into other countries, to make their land barren. It's also a new war, to make their land barren. American grass, eucalyptus, such type of plants and trees are planted by America or Australia in India to make the land of India barren. It's a new war. And war with gases, dangerous gases, poisonous gases, they use against their enemy countries, and for firearms. It's a very general form. So the who fight war with gases, firearms, biological weapons, throughout virus, plants, must stop their destruction task. At least for once, must stop their destruction task, at least for once. Instead, they should wear clean clothes. They should put their arms not to fight to one another, each other. They should put clean clothes without blood stain. Because if they fight, attack on others, right, their clothes have blood stain. So the poet suggests to wear the clean clothes without blood stain and walk with their brothers in brotherhoodness. Walk with brethren in brotherhoodness. to develop mutual trust. Mutual trust. The poet implies that war-torn world should be replaced by one with serenity. Implies war-torn world, the world which has been faced and looked a lot of wars. The world should be replaced by one with serenity, with sudden peace, peaceful atmosphere and society. Fifth stanza. Next stanza. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. It's most important. I want no truck with death. The poet is propagating silence, but he does not advise to be total inactive. Propagating silence, but doesn't advise to be total inactive. Means death, right? He doesn't want any association with death. Death is an eternal ending of anyone's life. But the poet doesn't want any association with death. It's a confusion. Don't be confused to think that total inactivity means death. The people should neither be self-centered to meet their selfish ends. No need to be self-centered. What he wants is that people should rest for a while. Take rest for a while. To think about the earth. To think about the human beings. Race of human beings. For once, they should not do anything. For once, they should not do anything. Human beings, the people, should not do anything. Then they will get time for introspection. To think about own self. What's the purpose of our life to be here? Thus, they know what they want in life. What's the purpose of life? If we were not so single-minded, the poem, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of treating ourselves with death. Sadness, it helps in overcoming. The point is that it helps. The silence helps in overcoming the sadness. The sadness which comes to us, comes to everyone. Not to understand themselves. Because when we think about ourselves, we will find that we don't know anything related to us. We don't know. And it creates a sadness. So the silence, that silence may interrupt that sadness. When we be so much sad and anyone try to console us, our classical answer comes out from our mouth that please leave me for a moment. Because the peace, the silence may interrupt our sadness. The poet also suggests the same. Serenity can really help us to understand ourselves and remove the fear of death, which threatens us again and again. And what's the need to be threatened by death? It's a final end of our life, and everybody will get it, will meet to it. So what's the need to think about it? It's a final destination. Death is a path which leads us to God. So no need to be threatened by death. Last one, And very important, perhaps the earth can teach us. As when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I'll go. Right? The poet says that the earth can enlighten and guide us, teach us. In the process of serenity, in the process of silence. The earth, which has its ecology system, proves alive as a dead sea, proves alive with a time period. As a dead seed which lying here, dead here and there. If you observe, you will find dead seed, lying here and there, lying dead here and there. But with the time period, the seeds will convert into a huge and fruitful tree. Firstly, they seem dead, but within the time period, they convert into a huge and fruitful tree. The poet has said what he intended to say to readers. Now he wants us to keep quiet up to 12, after which he will leave. It's a blank verse. It's a free verse. There is no rhyme scheme. And it's a style of Pablo Neruda. And in the poem he used alteration. His hurt hands, once on, we will, we would. In these lines, the poet has used alteration. In the line, count to 12 and we will all keep still, he has used antithesis figure of speech. Without rush, without injures. I have told you, he has used repetition. In the word arms, he has used pun, P-U-N. And in the word cold sea, he has used imagery. These are the figure of speech which are used by the poet in the given in the poem Keeping Quiet. Alteration, antithesis, repetition, imagery and pun. And there is no rhyme scheme. It's a blank verse. Okay? Thank you.